معرفی نشدند. یه عده‌ای شاید دست دوم دست سوم نمیدونم معرفی شدند و دادگستری هم اعلام کرده که این پرونده دیگه مختوم است. ولی پرونده چه وقت مختوم است؟ دو طرف داره، هر دادگاهی دو طرف داره. این طرف میگه آقا من حقمو نگرفتم، اون طرف میگه مختوم است. در نتیجه مختوم نیست.
Meine Eltern waren gegen Todesstrafe.
My parents were opposed to the death penalty. They announced that publicly in a political memo. They wanted the death penalty to be abolished. How could we demand these people be put to death?
Wie konnten wir überhaupt Todesstrafe verlangen?
Many of the old agents that were put in prison, they were subject to torture in order to extract from them some confession that we did it on our own. That event has caused the ministry to modify their manner. Those extremists who wanted to commit the same things, they have created a parallel intelligence service outside of the ministry to continue the same behavior. Allahu Akbar!
These kinds of parallel structures employing brutal violence to support the conservative rulers without requiring state authorities to become involved are quite common in the Islamic Republic. A demonstration against the great Satan, America, and their British allies, who have just attacked the holy cities of Najaf and Karbala in Iraq. At Revolution Square, the regime's civil militias march, having been brought in by the busload and paid a few tuman to make noise. That was the official part of the event. But then we witnessed the unofficial part, which was not intended to be recorded by foreign cameras. Riotous gangs of Hezbollah and the black shirts of the Basiji paramilitary forces have filled the street in front of the British embassy. Security forces move into position just a stone's throw from the building. Mullahs and Secret Service personnel choreograph the collusive dance between police and demonstrators. Enraged followers, in the words of the official report, attacked the British consulate in a spontaneous action. Security forces dispatched to the site had difficulty retaining them. The oppressed and persecuted Shiites were always known to be masters of disguise. Now that they are in power, the rulers of the Islamic Republic have revealed themselves to be true masters of deceit and hypocrisy.
We found out that there was a tray here with 11 teacups, but the tea had never been served. That means Parvaneh made a pot of tea for these people.
In part of the tape, you hear one of the guy over there. He is calling Haj Agha, or the minister, or his deputy, Mr. Pur Mohammadi, and telling him, we did it, we finished it, but unfortunately we did his wife as well. You hear that. This is what you hear. After they finished, they are talking, and that was the reason Khatami from the beginning said, the minister and his deputy, they were involved.
Die Aufklärungsarbeit richtet sich auch gegen so ein System.
The detective work that needs to be done is not just about a few criminals. The entire system needs to be investigated. The subject of the investigation should be the fundamental way of thinking that justifies executing people for religious or political reasons. That's the subject that needs to be addressed.
For 5 years, the investigation of the murder of the Forouhars and the others was in the hands of this man, Ayatollah Sharoudi, head of the Iranian justice apparatus. June 2004. This is the first session of the newly elected parliament, and the system that Parvaneh Forouhar suspects was behind the murders. The regime of the conservative mullahs has just regained the majority using dubious methods. The rejection of more than 3,000 reform candidates by the Religious Guardian Council turned the hopes of the liberal forces into mere illusions. Now, the aggressive heckling of the Islamist zealots once again dominates the Majlis. The leader of the Parliamentary Commission to investigate the Secret Service murders was among those no longer allowed to run for Parliament. The report was never completed.
در این حال در رسیدگی که در کمیسیون اصل 90 ما انجام دادیم از یک مرحله خاصی به لحاظ ساختار کارمون و حدود قدرتی که کمیسیون میتونست اون رو اعمال کنه امکان جلو رفتن و رسیدگی جامع و کاملی به این پرونده بر ما نبود.
The highest person who knew about the whole project, about everything, was Durri Najafabadi, the minister, former minister Mr. Ali Fallahian, because the project started when he was minister.
مسئولین واقعی و کسانی که واقعاً سازمان دهنده این جریان بودن به طور اصولی برای ما مشخص نشد.
Mr. Khamenei ordered that the minister just go to a judge and swear to God 3 times that he was not involved, and that's enough. So he swore to God, God is not involved, and they gave him exemption from any further prosecution. And now he is the can you imagine? He is now prosecutor general in Iran, the minister.
ما به جای خطر نرفتیم اصلا. ما به مرحله خطر اصلا نرفتیم.
The annual commemoration of the death of revolutionary leader Khomeini is one of the most important religious and political demonstrations staged by the conservative leadership. The mourning of the deceased revolutionary leader borrows heavily from similar rituals, such as the ecstatic self-inflicted punishment in honor of Hussein, the murdered descendant of the Prophet and founding father of Shiaism. The people beating themselves on the chest and head as a symbol of their mourning and compassion are the reserve army of the religious leaders, ready to strike out with their fists